Hey, so we're talking 20th Century Fox reboot of the Fantastic Four franchise with a new
origin story.
Yeah, pretty much going back to basics again for a second time. So the 20th Century Fox thought they'll take a gamble. They don't want Marvel to have Fantastic Four, so why not make their own version? How bad could it be? So they made another one. It's just come out in America as well. It's not done well. It's not liked that well, I think. I mean, I don't think it was necessary for another one. They could have just reused the characters and just introduced them in a different way. You have to go through the whole storm and then wait for Mr. Doom to come along. You know,
that pretty much sums it up. Unnecessary. Review over. But we are going to talk about it a bit more. Try to get some good points out of it, maybe.
Venom is supposed to make me invincible.
So yeah, unnecessary, but yeah.
So we take it in terms of like, when Tim Story made the original, right? So he took the same four characters, brought them to life in what was similar fashion to the way they've been brought back to life again. Not a lot of differences. Of course, this time around we've got a different team, younger team, to play Fantastic Four. And it just feels quite I don't know. It wasn't the worst comic book film ever made. It won't be the best, and it's something about it. It's just like they should have got Bryan Singer to do it because he's working on X-Men, and just done a crossover. Should never have done this. They should have gone straight into crossover.
Yeah, totally agree. They should have just gone to something to use Fantastic Four rather than an origin story. The main problem, it could have been a good film if they'd got a bit more of the final fight and the action going. But big spoiler, the action, the main big fight, which you sort of, if you watch the trailer, you are built up towards this big fight and this big thing that's going to be going on in this film, and it literally happens in the last 5 minutes. It doesn't give it enough time to actually be an epic battle. It's very disappointing in that sense. And obviously they did a good job in showing everything else, and they can use much better graphics now because they've got improved so much with CGI and all that stuff.
Thing looks much better now than he did previously. Even Sue Storm, Mr. Fantastic, they do look better. It can be done because Pixar made Incredibles, and it was, as the title suggests, Incredibles. So it can be done. You can have a superhero family, and you can make it into a brand new origin story, and it can work, and it can be funny. It can be everything you want it to be. It's just not in the hands of 20th Century Fox.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's kind of bits of humour in there, and there's a sort of romance, jealousy story going on as well.
In brother and sister.
There's adopted daughter as well.
Yes, Sue Storm.
Yeah. Now, so I'm just talking about all negatives and positives. I'll talk about the adopted daughter.
Yes.
There's a line in the film where he just one of the Fantastic Four just turns around to her and says like, "Oh, you're adopted, aren't you?" or something like that. And it's like completely assumed. I was kind of insulted. I was like, wouldn't you be a bit insulted if someone just says, "Hey, you're adopted"?
And I can see your dad over there, and I see your brother. Clearly, someone's different.
Yeah, and he must have been. It's just so racist. It's horrible. He's just like, "Hey, you're white, and that guy's black. You're adopted, aren't you?"
They could have wrote it better. They could have definitely brought that up in a different manner, and they could have actually played that off as kind of more of the starting, where maybe she's adopted, and just kind of show his dad doing the kind of like the thing where he picks her up and she's dropped like in a basket, like Moses. He's dropped off and then, being picked
given
up.
Given a clue or something.
Those just something. instead of it having that awkward moment in the film, which cringeworthy. Definitely, it kind of like the cinema went a bit quiet at that point, and just everyone's like, "Did that happen?" But it's all right.
But then again, we've got we've got mass audiences that maybe just think that's okay, which is just crazy. So that's just something I was thinking about when I watched it. Okay, so what do you think of the other dimension?
So again, we go back to the start of the film, and it plays a lot like the similar, where we've got character. You need to build them up. You need to give them their story. You've got all of that. You've got Mr. Fantastic. Obviously, is just this intelligent dude, and you've got Thing. It's quite clever. That Thing isn't quite. He's different to the Thing in the original Fantastic Four that they made, where he isn't the strong kind of athlete or the strong guy. He's just a normal guy, and he gets turned into the Thing. Even clobbering time, all of those kind of things you want to see earlier on didn't happen till quite late on in the film. So it's a little bit disappointing. They spent 120 million, so you almost wonder, where's that money gone? Like, where's the big action set pieces? Even X-Men 1 had that. X-Men 2 had that. So where is that big? Come on, let's just scrap it out. Doom.
Yeah, they seem to be.
Even Doom, I didn't really care much for. At least in the first one, I kind of, as much as I didn't like the film, I kind of thought, that was all right. But I don't know, it just didn't quite flow for me.
I mean, I went to a slightly earlier showing because I have a cinema card that lets some places have showings that are early, and the screen was completely packed, absolutely packed with people, and I think pretty much every single person was disappointed. And to be honest, I went in thinking this is going to be disappointing. I knew what it was going to be, and a lot of people were surprised. I wasn't really surprised how disappointing it was. So yeah, they've obviously picked something that's definitely got a draw, because a lot of people were there, and a lot of people want to see this movie. But yeah, I think they've damaged their reputation on this one, really. And people aren't going to be looking forward to these films so much now if they bring out more things like this.
Yeah, because it's the same. The way they advertise the film, it's quite funny, because you see from the studio that brought you X-Men Days of Future Past, but that doesn't mean that the studio that brought it is the same writing team, the same directing team, and it's the same direction. It's literally just a company that puts the money up front and made the film. So it wasn't no Bryan Singer classic. So I would say this is wait for DVD. Don't spend your money on it right now. Hopefully one day when they release the extended version, which was the actual cut of the film, or that Josh kind of signed off on, and wasn't the studio kind of changing their mind, then we'll watch that, and maybe it'll be a different film. But for now, a bit like Daredevil, a little bit disappointing, but the actual director's cut was a bit better, and we can kind of see where they're going. Hopefully they'll do a similar thing to this as well.
I thought that I heard a news report that Fantastic Four was actually beating Mission Impossible at the box office.
No, it didn't happen. It did on Friday, Friday. Friday box office. Day. I think it made like $11 million US, and then by the end of the weekend, it made less than 30 million. And Mission Impossible in its second weekend was #1 film in the box office. So yeah, it's not done that well. I think I read something that Fox could lose up to $60 million on this film. So I think the crossover may be put on hold, which I think they should just ignore that and go straight into the crossover, because if they've got Bryan Singer on board and he can do another film for them, I think that will work. Putting the X-Men...
They should have done that in the first place.
Yeah, put the X-Men in.
They've wasted money. They've wasted expectations. Someone needs a brain in that studio when it comes to planning. I can't slate it enough.
They can't. I thought you were going to
But
say something
seriously,
positive. And then
Positive. The positive thing is it's not actually that
it's
bad.
watchable. It's watchable on
movie.
DVD, definitely. It's not the worst comic book film you'll ever watch. You know, there are worse.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it is a nice. It's a nicely illustrated origin story. It's just that it was unnecessary. I mean, if they had never done a Fantastic Four before, or if they even hadn't done one within the last 10, 20 years, whatever, maybe, you know, then I think it would have been a great movie, even with the very minimal actual event at the end. I think it still would have been an okay movie for an origin story, and you'd be expecting something else to come after it, and a follow-up film. But the way, it was unnecessary still, I'm afraid. Yeah. So numbers.
Straight to DVD. Wait for it to DVD. Wait for the extended cut, and I think we might have something better then. But right now, if I was to say how's it play, you know what? I'd give it less than average. So I'll go for 4. It's not the worst film ever made. I've seen the original UK version of The Avengers, and that was bad. So this is better than that. as long as you're better than that, it's a 4.
Okay. It's very difficult. Disappointing terms, unnecessary terms, it definitely lowers it. As a film, I guess I can give it 5. I mean, it would be a 3 due to the disappointment, but I'll boost up to a 5 just to give it credit for its attempt at what it did show. So, yeah.